Hello, this is EDC Ghost, and we're gonna kind of do like a story, sort of a review, but mostly a story on this knife, uh, more than anything. So this knife I actually got at a fair of some sorts. It's just a local fair that we have in town, and there was a vendor there that sold knives, and I got this knife there for like I'd say this is like $10 I paid for this knife for $15. You can see the emblem has long fallen off. I carried this knife when I was in college, and I carried this knife for probably a good 2 years straight. And the point of this story is there's a couple stories with this knife, but not only that is you don't have to have the most expensive knife in the world. Why do we buy expensive knives? Well, maybe we have a specific purpose that knife serves, or maybe we're just enthusiasts that just like to have a fancy knife made out of fancy materials we don't really need, or a fancy handle we don't really need. But if you're just looking for a knife just to cut things, to just do everyday tasks, to cut open packages, things like that, there's a lot of options out there. But yeah, a $60 knife cuts a lot better than this knife, I can tell you that. The edge retention of this knife is not that good. I've had to sharpen it a lot. But I will tell you, in metallurgy class, I actually tested this knife. And I don't know if you can see right there. You can kind of see it. That dot right there is actually where I used a Rockwell machine and test the HRC on this knife. And it did test at 57, which is pretty good for a knife out of who knows what this material is. I'm guessing a stainless steel of some sort. But this brand is Bull and Bear Cutlery. And I have no idea about that brand, but you can see it there on the blade. Maybe. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. But Bull and Bear Cutlery is the name of this, which you can see they do have a bear on one side and a bull on the other side. So that's interesting. But I mean, I have sharpened this knife quite a bit using a stone or various other sharpeners, I'm sure. This knife has been used and abused. This is not a locking knife. This is just a regular opening knife. As you can see on this side of the blade, or this particular blade, it's kind of hard to see because this is so shiny. But you can see right there those scratches. I've actually used this knife as a screwdriver or pry bar at some point, it looks like. Which, do not do that. Knives are not meant for that, but we've all used one as a screwdriver or something at some point. And then this knife, it looks like the edge has been, I don't know what I've done to that, but maybe it's from sharpening. Who knows? We'll just see. This is a piece of paper I've been using for cutting. Not that this really tells you a whole lot, but yeah, that's not cutting very well. So that one is pretty dull. This one, that one's not too bad. Yeah. See things cut better, but that one's not too bad. So for general cutting tasks, I mean, any knife will basically do. And I don't know what, I think this is supposed to be bone, and this may actually be real bone because it kind of looks like that, or not bone per se, but antler. And it does kind of look like that, antler, or resemble it, with brass bolsters. It's not a bad knife, really. Like I said, I carry this a lot. You can see the wear on the material here, where I've worn it down from carrying it so much in my pocket. And this was a great little knife for me in college. It worked well for me. It worked well at different cutting tests. It worked well when I was at work, cutting bags of salt open, and it never rusted or anything like that. So overall, this knife did what I needed it to do at the time. At the time of a college student, doing just tasks of just opening boxes, just whatever I was opening at the time. So you don't need a super expensive knife, but let me tell you again, as we went over in the previous video of how to buy a knife in 2026, it is definitely nice to have an expensive knife with a more expensive knife. You just get that better premium feel. You get a longer blade retention, but it's not something you necessarily have to have. Enthusiasts get expensive knives because we're enthusiasts, we're collectors of the knives and different things. But like I said, I don't know much about this brand. Haven't really seen it a lot. You guys can look it up and let me know in the comments if you've ever had one of these knives or I've ever used one of these knives. But yeah, I mean, it did everything I wanted to do. It never bent. It always stayed reasonably sharp. It was definitely easy to sharp, that's for sure. And I had 3 different blade options to choose from if one of them was sharp. I think I mostly used this blade here, and it was the dullest one, just because it was just easier. It was that smaller. I really like that blade shape on that knife. So that is why I probably use that knife. This one here, this blade was just always too thin for me and just kind of a weird length. So I never really used this blade very much. But definitely that other one, this one here, I use quite a bit. And this other one on this back side, again, just kind of a weird blade shape at a weird angle for me. It's on the other side of the knife versus here, so it's kind of uncomfortable at this position. So I didn't use this one a whole lot. However, I did use it for a pry bar or screwdriver at some point, as we've talked about. But yeah, definitely this one, because this position just fits in your hand well with this kind of angle. And it was just the right size, right blade shape for me. So that's why I used that side more than the other side, I'm sure. But yeah, surprised of the Rockwell hardness there of that. And I have no idea where the little insignia there went. It fell off a long time ago. Don't know if it was in my pocket at the time or where it was, but yeah, so we're going to be reviewing some other knives here, some knives that I have in my collection, as well as we have some new knives coming that we're going to be reviewing here in the close future videos, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.